Well, I don't think it's going to burst next week, and I don't know that I would call it a bubble necessarily, but the truth is nobody knows the answer for sure, right? But there are some facts that you can back up behind all this. Demand is real right now. There's a lot of people that really want to buy houses. There's a lot of buyers. And the other truth is there's not a lot of inventory. So a lot of people aren't selling their houses. A lot of folks have already gotten into a really low interest rate. They've settled in and they're not moving. So when you put those two things together, it's a supply and demand issue. And house values are going to keep going up. I think they're going to slow down with what the Fed's doing right now because they're increasing interest rates to try and curb the demand and slow down inflation. You're hearing it all over the news, and the CPI numbers are actually coming out, I think, this week. So we'll see if it goes up over 8%. But
well, let me just add to that. I mean, what are we scared of? Are we scared of living? Let's talk about a housing bubble. In 2006, house prices were just about as close to right now as you can think. In fact, I had someone the other day say, "Oh, look at these houses. They've nearly doubled in the last 6 or 7 years. That's crazy. It's about to all go down." And they're like, there's never been home prices like this. And I said, "Oh yeah?" I pulled out my phone and I showed 2006. The same houses were going for about the same price that they are right now. And keep in mind, I mean, for anybody listening to this podcast as a recording, I mean, we're June 28th, 2022 today. And we're trying to use our knowledge and share with you the things that are going to help you make a better decision, because that's what it's all about. It's about, is it a bubble? Well, things go up and things go down. That's the way life is. But in the long run, housing has always gone up. Is lumber prices about 1/2 the cost as it was last year? Yes. That's a good thing. That means price to build will be lower for the foreseeable future as long as those prices stay low. But again, the Fed, like Eric said, they've increased the interest rates. They've talked about increasing interest rates more, and that has created its own bubble in the market where interest rates on the Fed funds rate has literally tripled, gone up from 1% to 3.2% the last time I checked today. And that's what I do for a living. I am watching all of these things so people don't have to. My name is Ben Phillips. I own HomeRate Mortgage. You've known me for a long time, but the people out there that are listening, they need to be able to listen to somebody that looks at this stuff every day and is willing to share the data to help them make a more informed decision. You know what I mean?
I like what you said about lumber prices. You know, last year was really the perfect storm in the industry. We had interest rates at, all-time lows. They were down in the 2s and low 3s. And, there were supply chain issues. It wasn't just lumber that was costing more money. It was windows, and stuff was taking longer to get to the job site for the builders. People were having to order windows, 10 weeks in advance. They had to order their appliances, 3 months ahead of time from what they normally used to. And it caused a big, rush in the prices, and everybody was racing to get in on those low rates. So it'll probably keep going up, but I think it's going to slow down. Would you agree with that?
It's just going to go, just going to slowly increase at a very nominal pace, and I think it's going to balance out. It's due to these interest rates primarily. People don't want to pay double and triple the interest rate. They just it impacts their payment. However, I will suggest this. If you're paying a 6% rate, which is actually higher than what I can give people right now, I can give people a 4.75 to a 5.25% on a 30-year conventional mortgage right now. If you're paying that instead of 3.5, which everybody's upset that the rates aren't 3 and 3.5 as last year, but the truth is every year that home is going to go up roughly 3 to 4%. The average home in Tennessee is over $300,000 now, but we'll say $300,000 for the sake of having a good, nice number. Okay. Well, 3%, if you buy your home today, June 28th, 2022, in just 1 year, 3% is increase in your value is what you're looking at. Can anybody do 1% of $300,000? That's $3,000, right? Oh, wait, that's $9,000. So $9,000 times 3 is $27,000. So your house is going to be worth $327,000 next year, on the lowest average rate of increase in value. So it's not about worrying about how much you're paying. As long as you can afford it, the long-term trajectory is owning a home is much cheaper than renting. People that are renting right now, those prices are so ginormously high, you're just renting lumber. and you're paying ginormous rates, and it hasn't come down at all.
And it's very market by market driven too, right? I mean, last year I think nationwide appreciation was 18%. Does that sound right to you?
In Tennessee, 18.5, I think.
It is close to that across the entire nation, but there's some markets that are just going up through the roof. And there's other markets that when they cool down less. Some markets cool down more. Here in Chattanooga, we've always been a steady Eddie market, but what we're seeing right now in Chattanooga is we got a lot of people from out west. We got a lot of people from Nashville. We got a lot of people from Atlanta. They're moving here because it's a more affordable place to live, and it's attractive. The cost of living is cheaper. You can get more bang for your buck here. So when you put it in perspective, you got some people coming in from out of town, and they're looking at stuff here that locals are thinking, man, that's really gone up quite a bit. I don't know. And they're looking at it like, man, this is a heck of a deal. I'm still in this house compared to what I was getting somewhere in Florida or New York or Colorado or California. And so it's all perspective. But at the end of the day, even at a 5% rate or a 6% rate, that's historically still very, very, very low. I remember back in 2009, we were selling 5.5%, 6% rates, and people thought they were stealing. They thought they were stealing because they'd never seen it before. Like it had been up higher than that. So, it's all perspective at the end of the day, but it's still a good time to get into the market. It's a good time to buy. It's not the question of where did all the houses go. The question is where did all the builders go? In 2008, the builders got smashed. I mean, they got completely obliterated.
Right.
And, they were building, there was what would we read that? It was like, on average, every decade, they were building so many millions of houses every decade. Well, that number was basically cut in half in this last decade. So building hasn't kept up with demand because the builders got burnt in 2008.
And that makes pent-up demand. And then you've got all those folks, all those millennials, right, that were living with their parents after 2008, after the financial crisis. And what happened was, so you've got this kind of double pent-up demand happening, and that's what's caused this mess, as well as COVID, as well as supply chain issues due to COVID, and then of course the rush. I mean, it's just been a perfect storm. However, I will say this: life doesn't get any cheaper, but investments. If you miss out on investments, you miss out on the opportunity to invest. You can't make a dollar if you don't play your dollar. You can't get another dollar off of it. So I always like to tell people, it's like, you need to live somewhere. Stop renting. You're making your landlord rich. You're not making yourself rich. Buy a townhome, buy a duplex, live in half, rent half. There's all kinds of investment strategies, but the most important one is that the American dream is the American dream. And the reason why is because home values always go up in the long run. Things don't get cheaper.
Well, what else always goes up? The rents. The rents are scheduled to go up here this next year. With interest rates going up and the prices of the houses going up, you can be guaranteed that the rents are going up. I'm hearing it all across the board. I mean, there's famous guys like Grant Cardone. He's just so pumped right now because he can increase his rents at his 1,000+ properties all across the nation. He thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So it's cheaper to own than rent right now is the truth of it. It is true. There's investment bankers that are coming in and they're buying up neighborhoods because they know that long term the value of those properties is going to go up and the rents are going to go up. So if the big guys are coming in to buy those houses, that's a clue, right? It's a good time to buy. But that is scaring a lot of people, and there's communities that are fighting back against that. I read an article about that the other day. They're trying to keep them out because they want to keep, housing affordable. I think the mayor here in Chattanooga just recently, but he's doing a big push right now for affordable housing. Yeah. I know you know a little bit more about that.
$96 million he just announced to get more affordable housing in Chattanooga. He's buying up land with about 30 to 40 million of it. The point is there's always going to be, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So we live in a market. We live in a market where there's buyers and sellers. And they're always one of them's going to have the upper hand sometimes, and the other one's going to have the upper hand the other time. But the truth is clear. People need a place to live. It's the essentials of life. So you might as well own something. The cost to own a home, Roxanne, is roughly the same as to rent. So with that being said, with depreciation, it's like getting a free retirement plan on the side. We work so hard for that Social Security check someday that we hope to get, right? And we see it go out of our check every time we get paid, and we hope that that's going to pay us down the road. And our confidence in that is important, but you can always have confidence in the housing market because there's always going to be someone else having children that are going to grow up and need a house. And the population is expected to go up another 20 million over the next 10 years. 20 to 30 million. So think about that. That's people that need housing. What I find is that most people that want to buy a home, they want to buy a home, but they're scared. And, one of my big acronyms in life is, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I didn't say that. You know who said that? One of our presidents did back in the day. And, you can't be afraid of taking some risk in life. If you're going to pay rent, you might as well pay a mortgage note. Right now, you can get 100% financing. Right now, you can recognize the fact that a year from now, that $300,000 home is going to be worth about $330,000, plus your note balance is going to be about $270 or $280. So you're going to have $50,000 in equity after the first year, roughly. $50,000 in equity. That's real money.
The biggest mistake most people make when they start looking for a home for the first time is, they don't go to the mortgage guy first and figure out what they can qualify for. What they do first is they go on Zillow.com and they're with their significant other, and they start looking at all these nice shiny houses, and they get their eyeballs set on something that's a little bit out of their price range. Or maybe they get their eyeballs set on something that has a little bit more to it in terms of maintenance that needs to be upkept with, or in terms of just a multitude of things. Maybe not being in a neighborhood that has the right school zones for their children. So you need to start with, hey, what can you get qualified for? And make sure you're looking for something that you can afford, so you don't get your hopes up here and buy down here, so to speak. Get in where you can get in, and then get with a great realtor who can show you the neighborhoods, who knows where the best spots in town are, and can get you the right house and negotiate you a good deal. You could try.
Yeah, if you're not a licensed agent or mortgage person, loan originator, I think you're going to have some problems. But that's why we exist. If we help, we help, and that's why people should look at their Google reviews and do your homework. Success is often disguised in overalls. Hard work.
And the reality is, when you're using a realtor as a buyer, you're not paying that realtor cash out of your hand. That money is coming out of the seller side of the transaction, and they're going to get what they're going to get for their house because that's what the market's going to bring for it, right? So they're going to be paying that realtor for the listing agent and the buyer's agent out of the proceeds they receive from their house. You're literally getting a professional to work with you for free. So there's no reason not to use a buyer's agent.
Interest rates have climbed, but recently we're seeing them relax. 10-year bond was up to 3.4% just 2 weeks ago. Now it's at 3.2. That's nearly 8% reduction. We're finally getting back into the fours, where we're offering people interest rates in the fours on 30-year mortgages. That's exciting stuff. There's people out there that are going to be jumping up and down when they hear that. And that's why it's important to stay involved, stay listening to these podcasts, and obviously stay in tune. Call your loan originator, and obviously somebody's calling right now, but they won't stop calling. But it's exciting to own a home, and we're with you every step of the way at HomeRate Mortgage, and that's really what this is about today: is to share the knowledge that we have and to answer questions that people have. We just want to inspire people to do what we love to do.